Hello and thank you for joining me. My name's David Dungay, Editor-in-Chief of UC Today. I'm so excited to present UC Trends this year. I can't wait to get into the conversation with my next guest. In this video series, you're going to see us talking to a lot of senior executives from those vendors that are really trailblazing in the market, and that's across UC, collaboration and the CX space. We're going to be taking their perspective on the market, asking them about their future opinions and what's to come in this wonderful place of UC. So we'll be getting to know our interviewees a little bit more as well, so hang around at the end of the conversation. We're going to be doing some quick-fire questions to really get to the bottom of those personalities and find out a little bit more about some of those industry leaders. So stand by for UC Trends 2022. My first guest, Aurangzeb Khan, SVP of Jabra. Welcome to the show, Aurangzeb. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, David. Really good to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So, for those who might not be familiar with yourself and Jabra, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction and tell us a bit about how you got into the UC and collaboration space?
Sure, thank you. I'd be happy to do so. So Jabra, as you know, is a world-renowned manufacturer of audio products. I've been building high-technology products for about 150 years. I've been in Silicon Valley for a very long time. I grew up in Pakistan, was always interested in the sciences and engineering, and came to Silicon Valley and built a career here building advanced technology products. Back in 2012, I was working with a group of friends and around the notion of cameras. I've been an amateur photographer. I've always been interested in video. And we wanted to eliminate this constraint cameras have had really since photography was invented, which is that they give a pretty finite field of view. People try to expand that by using ultra wide angle lenses or fisheye lenses, and we're all familiar with the kinds of distortions you get from those. And so the folks had been playing with the idea of synchronizing multiple cameras precisely to create a panoramic video field of view. We had seen the Apple product with the panoramic still photos, and we wanted to do panoramic video. We then ended up developing all the core imaging science, technology, algorithms, semiconductor know-how to build a multi-camera array. And that became the Panacast product. And as you know, it's been now in use all over the world for some time. About 2.5 years ago, we felt a need to build a combined audio-video product. And that's when we got connected with Jabra for their audio expertise. And one thing led to another. We became a part of one company. We were acquired by Jabra, and we've been now building in Panacast 50 the manifestation of that vision, of that ambition to build a combined product that combines audio, video, and AI all in real time within the device.
Fantastic. So, let's look over the last 12 months. What a mad 12 months it's been. But for you, what are the big workplace trends that you've seen over that period?
Well, as you said, since March 2020, all of us, literally, I think billions of people around the world had to just completely relearn how to work, how to learn, how to live, how to play. And thankfully, the work we do together, our whole industry really stepped into the breach and helped people keep going. We provided the tools and technology that enabled us all to keep working and learning, especially for knowledge workers. And, we're living through that same trend. In the very beginning, it was just a mad scramble to grab what you have and get out and try and figure out as you go what to do. I'd been a very early adopter, as I'm sure you have, of, video collaboration and modern cloud services and so on. So basically had a little setup at the house that became the permanent or main setup. I'm still here. Last many months, though, we do have a chance to go to the office. There are a number of people we're managing, not full load and all of that. So the world has evolved to us being now very comfortable working at home, potentially working at the office, and working in between, the work anywhere mode. And, in many ways, we've also learned to benefit from this. We've evolved our schedule, so we have not only a spatial advantage, but we also have a temporal advantage. Some things I'll do in the morning, some things I'll do at night. I might work in some exercise in the middle of the day. And that flexibility, folks who have kids need time with their kids and so on, or caring for elderly folks and so on. So that whole flexibility has really helped us manage our time better, reduce a lot of stress in some ways because we're not commuting, but introduce some different kinds of stress and some new stress. And I think technology has still a long ways to go to make this better and fully comfortable for all of us in this new way of working, the hybrid model.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you there. We've seen, here in the UK, a lot of businesses are now trying to go back to work or trying to figure out what does that hybrid sort of workplace mean to them. But in a lot of ways, those people, like you say, people have been at home, taking their children to school, being able to, fit in life around work all of a sudden. And to go back from that, it's going to be very difficult for a lot of people, I think. But first and foremost, congratulations, Aurangzeb, on winning a UC award. It's absolutely fantastic to see. But tell us about those standout moments for you over the last 12 months that led up to this award.
Well, first of all, thank you. We were all delighted. We had a bunch of high fives for the few of us who were in the office, and then virtual high fives, all around. The mission for Panicast 50 and Panicast 20, that whole architecture, hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about that. We had a very purposeful desire to achieve certain things. And maybe I'll just pick on one. There's a lot of new AI in this device, and our whole idea was that people really aren't buying hardware or software or technology. They want enablement. They want to do something, and how do we make that possible? And so the core idea for us has been, take state-of-the-art video, state-of-the-art audio, combine that with real-time AI and algorithms, and then create an experience that lets people stay in their moment, right? I mean, you and I are here having a great conversation. That's what we want to do. We really don't want to mess around with remote controls or lighting controls or have to adapt things if the sun comes out or the sun goes out or any of that stuff, right? We just want to stay where we are. So in addition to getting all the core audio and AI right, we worked to create a new experience called Virtual Director. Folks had been using active speaker tracking for a long time, and we saw that that was a step forward from where we were earlier, but it had some limitations. For example, if you had a group of folks, it might bisect the person next to you, or if people were talking, it might jump back and forth too much. We had a unique advantage because we could see everybody with the multi-camera array up to 180 degrees of field of view. And so we actually work with movie makers to understand the psychology of human perception. What's a curated video frame that people enjoy? What's a sequence and follow through that would work well? And to give you an example, we figured out that when people are next to each other, it's best to just pull back a little bit and have that conversation be a fireside chat. And if they are very far away, it's actually a good experience to pull back, show the whole room, and then zoom in on the new person and stay there. And so we were learning all about how to adapt this technology and this incredible amount of power we had in our products. And like with any new technology, you try something, it doesn't work, you try it again, and so on. So the fun part about being an innovator and developing new technologies, you're part of that journey, right? You're part of the little highs and the many lows, and then finally it kind of just trajectory goes up and you get to a good experience. So I'd say that was one. I think the core experience, once people started to understand the power of this and how it enabled them, the feedback we got from customers was fantastic. And some of the best customers early on became early adopters. They gave us the good, the bad, and the ugly along the way, and we helped shape and refine that experience. It's just been very gratifying, and I think all of us were delighted with the recognition. There are many worthy companies and competitors, so it's just good to be playing in this space right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the future, Aurangzeb. It's you say there's a lot of space to grow, especially from a technology point of view, still, which is fantastic. From video, of course, we're all living our lives in these small video squares nowadays. But what do you see for the marketplace in 2022? Are there any significant technology changes that you're seeing, or anything around maybe different buying behaviors also?
Well, let me talk about the technology first. I think what we've grown used to now is this sort of a Brady Bunch, the gallery view, right? I mean, you have a certain amount of pixel real estate, and I joke with people, in the old days, it used to be physical real estate, right? How much physical real estate? Now it's about pixel real estate, like how many pixels do I get to consume on your display, right? And, what we recognize, I think Microsoft certainly has Zoom, others are all getting feedback and recognizing that people, when they return to the office, want at least as a good experience as you have at home. Mine's pretty good. You and I have we're having a very comfortable conversation. I can see you, I can read you, I can kind of understand. When we're back in a meeting room, of course, Panicast uniquely allows you to sit with a certain physical separation because people still want that. They didn't really want to kind of cram together. So that's one. And then the second thing we started to work on is, okay, well, that's great. And now how do we, given the power of our technology, create a gallery view that is equitable, that is more equitable than if you were just, that was one. And then the second is people really like that whole panoramic view. What I love about that when you're seeing a group of people is you kind of read the room. We instinctively always did that, right? But many times you couldn't see it. So we're combining that notion of the panoramic view with the gallery view, working with the leading service providers to help folks get that advantage that whether they're at home, they're in between, they're at the office, they always have a good experience. I'm a big believer in being inclusive, right? And in this particular case, the manifestation is video, right? If you're not on camera, or if you're looking highly distorted because the one camera is at the edge of its field of view and it's creating a trapezoid, it's just not a good experience. Your brain has this dissonance like something isn't right. I think that's a very big part of it. That's an area of easy growth for technology. And then AI has this amazing runway ahead of it, right? I mean, that probably is a whole blog by itself. And if you like, we would love to dig into that more fully with you another time. But there's a lot of work going on in AI. We are very focused in developing that area all around experience, all around enablement, but also around data. So with the Pentacast 50, for example, we can give people information in the room if they are exceeding the capacity of that space. Smart people with good data make good choices, and we think there's a lot more to do down that road. In terms of buying behavior, we're finding like with the Pentacast 20 product, so on, there's a lot of individual interest. So people are much more aware. They have opinions and views and knowledge, and they're learning and reading about what's becoming possible. But they also don't want to become their own IT. They don't want to be dealing with hassles of updates and any of that stuff, right? So corporate buyers now are looking across that whole span. And what I think would make sense, and some folks are starting to do this, is when a new person starts, in the old days, you'd get a PC. Well, now maybe you get a PC and a headset and a speakerphone and a camera, so you've got the toolkit to be productive. So those are some new vectors coming in on the business side.
Great, thank you for that. Well, look, Aurangzeb, let's move to the second part of this conversation, where we'll get to know a little bit more about yourself. So, if you're ready, shall we start with our quickfire questions?
Sure.
Excellent. So, first of all, describe yourself in 3 words.
Right. Curious, love learning by doing, and pretty focused to just, I'll kind of meander around, but I've generally got a North Star that I'm trying to get to.
Okay. First job?
Well, that was at Fairchild Semiconductor designing memory chips, ECL memory chips. As soon as I came out of Berkeley, that was a dream job in Silicon Valley to build advanced electronics.
Favorite cuisine?
Well, boring and predictable. I love Pakistani food, so I have a lot of that.
Okay, so if you could live in another country, where would you live and why?
Well, I've kind of lived out that answer, right? Because I came to Berkeley and then I was at school here, and then Silicon Valley's been my home for a very, very long time. I love working and living in Northern California. It's an amazing place for the amount of bright folks around you and the folks that challenge and push you and help you learn. And it's also physically kind of a nice place to live.
Favorite pastime?
I've been a lifelong, I would say maybe a fanatical squash player ever since I was very young and grew up in Pakistan. I had a chance to play for Berkeley and still work out, still play. I love the sport. It's a fantastic way to keep your brain and your body going.
How do you describe your job to your friends and family?
That's actually easy. I just say we help people connect. That's kind of our mission in life, right? So it's been easy. I don't go into all the bits and bytes and photons and phonons and any of that stuff. Just help people connect.
What's worse, ironing or gardening?
For me, ironing. Some people love ironing. It's like a Zen moment for them. I'd rather be out playing in the mud.
Virtual or in-person meetings?
Both, honestly, I have to say, and I guess I have this ambition that over time, in-person and virtual will become so equal, and in some sense, virtual might even have an advantage because of information and context that you can have around you, but who knows? But of course, it's good to be around people, it's good to have that physical proximity, so I'd say both, but virtual's come a long ways.
It has. If you could give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Take more risks. I've taken a few, they've worked out. I've taken a few where I stubbed my toes. Sometimes people feel bad about stubbing their toes. It's just part of learning, so just go out and try it, see what happens.
Biggest business mistake, and what did you learn?
I'd say, and this has been a couple of times, and it maybe so I'm a slow learner here, right? Spreading too thin, right? Getting spread too thin, just pushing, opening up on too many fronts. We tried to, when we built Panicast, we tried to actually build a service alongside of it and realized that that was a whole mission by itself. And so, with the amount of money we raised, the kind of competitiveness in that space, the folks we had, figured it was better to go build the device and derive that vector, in which we have. So I'd say, being, part of taking risks is also being a little bit judicious about understanding what's the upside, what's the downside, how long will it take, where could it take you, is that a goal that you want to get to, so just framing around that risk taking.
And lastly, which new technology will transform the industry?
I mean, there's so much, David, don't know where to start. So I just say, first of all, inclusive and immersive experiences, I think clearly I'm being parochial, but I just think they're a big deal, right? Everybody wants equal airtime, equal pixel space. They want to be acknowledged and included, right? Now, AI is a big part of this, and AI has got so many vectors. We've only started to scratch that surface. I'm very excited to drive that more and more into this whole experience. And then as you see what's happening with head-mounted displays, if they really become, just better and smaller and easier to use, bandwidth is growing. You see the bandwidth growing with 4G and 5G and, and beyond. You see Wi-Fi 6, as you see good low latency bandwidth everywhere. You can imagine, our sensor array is all around here, right? So you could imagine wrapping something around here and just being connected with the world seamlessly. And I don't know if that's, maybe it's not 2 years out, but maybe it's less than 10 years out. So there's that whole vector for us to work forward to. And then in between, you see the growth in IoT, and you see how through data we can start to provide information to make buildings and spaces more empathetic, more aware of human presence, and more attuned to human presence. These are very exciting times as a technologist to bring solutions forward.
Excellent. Aurangzeb, that is absolutely fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. All the best. Take care, David.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, Editor-in-Chief at UC Today. This is part of our UC Trends 2022 series. If you'd like to find out more, please go to the website. That's uctoday.com/trends to find out all the latest information. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.